Danganronpa Tactics. Yeah, I don't know, man. You're just as confused as I am. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and welcome back to the Saturday Strategy Spotlight. Hello, everyone. If you enjoy what I do, including my coverage of Danganronpa Tactics games, or, strategy games, the gaming sphere in general, a like on this video and a subscription to the channel would be very much appreciated. We do a lot of news, guides, and gameplay around here, so if that sounds like your thing, I would appreciate the support. So yeah, this was an interesting new little info drop from the recent Nintendo, maybe possibly final direct of the Switch 1's lifespan showcase that we had. Probably not, but it definitely feels like we're getting to that point. We are talking about the 100-line Last Defense Academy from Tokyo Games, Mediavision Inc., Aniplex is the publisher, and yeah, I mean, just looking at it, this is a game from the Danganronpa team. This was a very surprising announcement, not something that I would have expected to see from this team in general, especially since it's been a little while since we've seen anything major from these devs, but given a little bit of a factoid that we're going to get into here in a second, I guess it potentially makes sense. You see, the development cycle of this game has apparently been a little bit of a problem, as the news is making the rounds that the writer and I believe head dev of the Danganronpa series, as well now 100 Line, had to take out a loan to support the studio to try and finish the game. So that's always an interesting sign. Could be a good sign of a very strong passion project that just needs all of the funding that it can get to reach the pinnacle that they want it to reach. Or it could just be a mismanagement thing, I don't know, but it makes me think of the recent Vanillaware ran out of money while developing Unicorn Overlord thing that we heard about. And we saw how Unicorn Overlord turned out. So maybe this is a good sign. We're going to stay positive about this one. But so what is 100 Line Last Defense Academy? We haven't seen that much about its actual gameplay, but there were some interesting notes to take from the reveal trailer as well as its Steam page, all of which I have compiled here. We're going to go through in order. Strap in. This is a new strategy RPG/visual novel title set in a world that is under attack by alien creatures. As far as we've seen, it is a separate world from the universe of Danganronpa, which is good because God only knows that I do not know what the lore of that series is. You take the role of Takumi Sumino, who is as you might guess, totally average teenager living in Tokyo when this attack happens, and then he and 14 other students are thrust into this academy where you're conscripted to fight back the aliens by a little weird brain bear thing. It's very Danganronpa. The idea, though, is that you need to survive 100 days against waves of attacks to be able to complete the game. There's an implication of permadeath here. There was a statement made, the unavoidable loss of allies. This could definitely be like you could lose characters in combat type of scenario, very Fire Emblem, or it could be more of a standard characters die as part of the story shtick that Danganronpa has always done, that's always been known for. We'll have to see. I'm hoping it's the former, not the latter, although the latter could also be interesting if characters die over the course of the game who you got used to using, and you then had to adapt your strategies to use the characters that are still left. That could be fun. I'm also wondering if maybe we will have decision trees where we can do certain things or maybe fail certain objectives that will wind up allowing us to save or sacrifice different characters, and you can maybe put a preference towards the characters you like in battle, but have to balance that with, do you actually like them in the story? That could be fun. That could be very compelling. From what we've seen, the visual novel mechanics look like they're probably pretty standard for the series. I say series, even though, yes, I know, this is a different world, more likely than not, than Danganronpa, but come on, look at it. It's Danganronpa Tactics, okay? We also have the ability to craft gifts for allies while we are exploring the in-game world, so it makes me wonder if we're going to be seeing a little bit of a Fire Emblem-style stat boost for affinity with other characters, or if maybe this is going to be how we're able to make different decisions that affect different things, save different characters, all that type of good stuff. The reason I keep bringing that up is because it is noted on the Steam page that there is 100 endings that depend on your choices as Takumi. But that, you can't have 100 endings in a game like this that are all meaningful, right? They have to be very minor. I'm thinking maybe that you could fail any single day, like any day where you fail the mission and lose is an ending, and you get a slightly different ending depending on how far into the story you made it. I would be amazed if it was anything more complicated than that, although that would be super dope. We'll have to see. As far as the actual combat is concerned, again, we've seen very little, but there is still a few interesting nuggets of information to pluck out of this single trailer and the Steam page. First of all, we've seen each battle looks like it'll probably be a hold the line scenario. We can see the number of waves left in the battle here, who the enemy commander is here, and what your defense point is kind of off to the left side of the screen over here. Each playable character has their own HP values, as does the defense point, and what's notable is that there is a voltage meter at the top of the screen. This seems like it's going to be one of the primary mechanics of battle in 100 line, wherein as you perform basic actions and attacks, this bar gets charged up as you use those abilities, such as this biker character's AoE tire sweep that he uses to take out a bunch of chaff. I'm assuming that this is going to allow each character to use bigger skills, or potentially add up into a party-wide attack or buff like a limit break does in Final Fantasy XIV. The reason I think that is because we can see a voltage multiplier under each character on the left side of the screen for just a second here in this rather low quality GIF. Apologies if it's hard for you to see. I pulled this off the Steam page. I couldn't find it in any higher fidelity anywhere, so sorry. But it looks like this is a multiplier for how much each character is going to contribute to the voltage meter rather than their own particular voltage meter. We can see a little bit more on this screen here from what looks like it's probably the tutorial mission at the beginning of the game where you're playing as the main character and you can see a little bit more of his stat screen. So I'm guessing each character will either have their own values that will give you more or less voltage, or potentially this is something that you will be able to build into with items and equipment or skills, level ups, whatever, to make characters more efficient at filling the voltage gauge. However this shakes out, it could be very interesting, it could be super busted, we'll have to see, but I have been enjoying seeing more and more strategy games and tactics games that have a sort of super meter that you can build up and then use tactically in various different ways. I'm thinking of Fire Emblem Engage with its engage meters, but had a lot of interesting push and pull there, for sure. We can also see a few different details about the different attacks and effects in this GIF, again from the Steam page, such as the fact that our biker friend here gets 1 armor point for every square that he moves with his sweep. This is a character ability. Each character is apparently going to have their own abilities. We can see the main characters a little later on, I'll point that out. So how each different character will play and what their role will be in your quote-unquote army, or probably better suited squad, will be very cool to see. I love different character-specific abilities in games like this that can complement maybe a more generic set of skills. So I'm hoping that we see some fun stuff here. We can also see in the same image that each character has their own AP count. Our biker friend here has 3. Now we can't see if AP counts are part of movement as well as actions, but we can see that each skill has an AP count that will presumably go up or down for different skills. And it's notable that it seems like the character only moves after selecting the attack. So part of me is thinking that moves and attacks might all be rolled into the same action, which could certainly be interesting and makes me feel like things are going to get pretty aggressive pretty fast. As I said, this biker has 3 AP currently, and it's possible that different characters will have more or less. Finally, we get a quick look at main character Takumi Sumino's ability, which seems to just be a rewind mechanic, a la something like Fire Emblem, although I would imagine that you have to use voltage to activate it, so it could actually be pretty limited and be an important tactical option to make sure you keep enough voltage on hand to actually rewind if something goes wrong. Something that you're always going to have to keep in the back of your mind and not just spam voltage attacks or skills or what have you every time you have it available. We can also see here that he has some sort of status effect on him. I'm assuming it's some sort of poison or wound. We don't know what. I couldn't see it anywhere on his status screen, but it is exciting that it exists, since it again implies that there's going to be a little bit more depth to this game than we've seen from some things like, say, Persona 5 Tactica, which had depth but also felt shallow in certain ways that I wasn't super happy about. Finally, as far as a release date is concerned, all we have right now is that it is coming in early 2025, and I believe it is coming to all major consoles, not just Switch and PC, as these types of titles tend to do. Finally, as far as my opinions are on this one, it could certainly be interesting. I actually have to give some credit to my girlfriend Jane for asking if I was going to cover it on the channel, because I am not someone who has ever been into that Danganronpa style. it just never has really resonated with me, even if some of the character designs are fun. And I've watched some of the anime and game stories and things like that, and it's had some interesting moments, but it's never really been my speed. So it bounced off of me at first, but seeing what's going on in terms of the tactical gameplay, and that while there's still some crazy designs in here, it feels a little bit more toned down to some of the more ridiculous, over-the-top stuff I'm used to seeing from Danganronpa. Maybe this one will hit more for me. The visual novel things I'm not particularly bothered by. I do enjoy running around, getting to know characters, learning about story. Even if the stories of Danganronpa have never been my thing, this type of gameplay I'm totally fine with. I really enjoy learning about characters, talking to them, making dialogue options, all that type of good stuff. If you're not someone who enjoys that type of thing, though, this might be one for you to skip. If you're the type of person that maybe didn't enjoy the monastery in Three Houses because you just wanted to get on with more tactical battles, again, this may wind up being one that you want to skip. There tends to be a lot of that in these types of games. But overall, I'm hopeful here. I really want to see a lot more. There's still plenty of time to learn a lot more, probably at least 9 months before this winds up coming out. And if it seems like there's going to be interest in it from you guys and enough interesting mechanics and potentially story things to discuss on my end, then I will absolutely be covering more of it. That said, what are your thoughts here? This is, I know, a different style for the Saturday Strategy Spotlight. Usually I'm talking about games that I've already played before, highlighting them so that people can pick them up, try them out for themselves. This is a new release, and I kind of wanted to just get into it and discuss what we've seen as a kind of toe in the water. See what you guys think, if there's going to be interest, so that I know if I should put time and effort into covering more info about it when and where it comes out. With that said, though, my name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. Let me know your thoughts about the 100-line Last Defense Academy, and if you are interested in supporting the channel and helping me out directly, you can see our list of patrons and YouTube members is scrolling by on the right side of the screen right now. Links to both my Patreon and a link to join as a YouTube member are down below in the description. It helps immensely. There's a bunch of different benefits for different tiers depending on where you're looking. It would really help a lot if you wanted to be able to help support me a little bit more directly than the fickle nature of YouTube ad rev. Anyone who does support from this video, thank you all so much. You are just the biggest goat on the face of the earth, and everyone who has been supporting the channel for quite a long time now, even more so, y'all are the best. As I say all the time, you're the reason that I've been able to keep doing this long enough for the channel to actually see some serious growth. Thank you all so very, very much. That said, though, we're going to call this one here. I hope you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there. And remember, be good to each other. Bye now.